hello, everybody. It is your boy, Reverend Phoenix Coffin Williams, and today I am coming to you from the actually quite beautiful Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I am here at the location where the 2025 Global Lustration of the Ancestors is going to be held. Corellians who have decided to come to this year's global event are en route, if not already here. And I have already had the joy and pleasure of connecting with several of the people who are going to be here at the event this year. So I already got to see Lady Alyssa, who usually does this program with me, but Lady Alyssa is out with the babies getting some food real quick after a morning of travel. So she got to go ahead and take care of some business. I got to run into Lady Kai. I got to run into Reverend Rachel. I got to run into Reverend Mary Hawk and her sister. I got to run into Rob Medina. Y'all don't know much about Rob, but it's about to be lit. This is really about to be a great lustration. The personalities that are here are phenomenal personalities to be praying and celebrating with. As y'all can see, I have my little hat on. Lady Alyssa made this for me as a component to one of the offices that I hold as First Priest. It is the Templar Grand Deemster, and the Templar Grand Deemster wears a hat. This is the hat that I wanted to wear. It is different than the one that our previous Templar Grand Deemstress wore. The previous one wore a martyr that looks pretty similar to the Pope's hat, but this one right here is a kufi, and we had the tassel added to it, and Lady Alyssa made the Deemster hand herself for your boy. Lots of talent here in the tradition, as you can see. So last time I was on here was Monday, and we started talking a little bit about the role of sex and fertility in our faith and ways that you can use faith to justify healthy expressions, exploration, and expressions of sexuality, sexual orientation, and sexual pleasure. I just said sex mad times in like one breath. I do want to continue that, and I do also want to spend a little bit of time talking about the lustration weekend as well and why that's such a special and sacred holiday for our tradition. And then, I also got a gift. I got this rune deck, and it's centered around one of my patrons, Loki. So maybe if there are people in the chat who have questions, I might just go ahead and do a 3-hole with this little deck. I just opened it up. It's gorgeous. So, already so much excitement happening. But back to the sex. Last time I said that when it comes to you in your relationships, your partner or partners, if you want to move into the exploration of passion and ecstasy and sex magic, first, think about your partner as if they were a candle that you were going to use for a spell. What would you do to that candle to make it ready for the magic? You might cleanse it. Go ahead and cleanse your partner. If you want to, smoke them in some incense. If you want to, wash them in a tub, wash down their feet, wash down their hands, wash their hair, wash their temples, scrub their whole body. Be gentle, be rough, be vigorous, be thorough. You can make that an erotic component of the pregame, so to speak. And as magical people, we know that cleanliness is essential if we want our magic to be untainted by unnecessary and unhelpful energies. So you move into a place of sex magic or exploration with your partner, go ahead and give them a good cleanse. What else do you do to your candles when you're using them for magic or working with them for magic? You might anoint them with oil. Go ahead and anoint your partner with oil. Anoint their temples, anoint the insides of their elbows, anoint the backs of their knees. Go ahead and rub those feet down with some good oil. Some oil that smells is associated with your combined purpose. What else do you do with candles? Well, you might inscribe your name or your goal onto them. I'm not going to recommend that you etch a spell or an incantation or a wish into your partner, but you can get very creative and you can henna an incantation or a prayer or a wish onto your partner's back or onto their chest or onto a leg or onto a foot or a hand. And that can be a way that you inscribe your partner with your intentions. You might also dust your candle with herbs and powders. Same thing with your partner. I mean, don't blow it in their face or their mouth or like their eyes or stuff, but go ahead and sprinkle some rose petals, some crushed up rose petals on them or some crushed up lavender on them. Additionally, if your passion and exploration is going to include a bed, you can sprinkle the powder and the herbs on the bed. You can use a coffee grinder to get these as fine as you might need to, but make sure that these powders are not getting into places where they would cause right? We definitely want to make sure that when it comes to the things that and that's with the oil too, like don't pick an oil that is going to cause any burning or irritation because that will change the energy of your experiment and your experience. We do light our candles on fire. I would not suggest you lighting your partner on fire, but I would suggest maybe turning the temperature up in the place where you're going to be having your explorationary experience and making it a bit warm, a bunch hotter. When it comes to touch, last time I said focus on places on the body that are non-sexual or non-genitalia, and I'm going to go ahead and repeat that. Go ahead for the nape of the neck, go ahead for the temples, go ahead for the earlobes and behind the ear, underneath the chin. Go ahead and experiment with playing with the palms of your partner's hands. If you get them relaxed, they might not be ticklish, and that might be something that you learn about your partner. Or if you get them really, really aroused, they might become extra ticklish, and that might be something that changes or enhances your experience together. In the chat, I do want to say hello to Magical Mermaid. Thank you for being here. And I'm glad that you are I'm glad that you are enjoying the topic. And yes, to your point, incorporating candle wax onto your partner is one of those things that you can do to, experiment with some heat sensations. The candle wax is going to be warm when you pour it onto them. You can experiment with letting it dry and harden and then kind of peeling it off a little bit, and that's another sensation. I know a bunch of us used to put the glue on our hands as children and let it dry so we could peel it off. Think about that same thing with the candle wax. Hair is going to be an issue with candle wax. However, soap and hot water is the resolution. Food. When we are doing magic, a lot of the times we make offerings to the spirits that we are working with. Sometimes these offerings are incense and candles and songs and prayers. Sometimes it's food offerings. Sometimes when we are bargaining with spirits, we will make we'll make a promise for an act of service, or we will recognize them publicly. These are things that you can do with your partner or partners as well. Words of affirmation when your partner is phenomenal and you really are noticing that, they are the bee's knees. Words of affirmation when you notice that they are working on something and they are trying really hard. Words of affirmation if you notice that they are not being as successful as they want to be. Go ahead and just give them some encouragement and some affirmation and let them know that you notice the stuff that they have done and that it makes you know that they are capable of doing what they want to do. That's an example of how you can use words of affirmation and confirmation. You can bring those words into the bedroom by whispering sweet nothings into their ears. And it doesn't have to be about their body. It can be, but physical stuff like that is low-hanging fruit. You see a body, you see what you like about it, easy peasy. But taking it into those other planes of existence, like the astral, the mental, and the emotional, and commenting on how great you think your partner's brain is or how wonderful their mind works, might be one of those things that you can whisper during sexy time that changes and enhances the experience. Telling them how much they turn you on or how turned on you are by them is another way to offer some words. We pray to our spirits. Write a prayer or an invocation for your partner. You can also write an invocation for the sexiest side that your partner has. And you can use that as an invocation whenever you want that primal kind of magical sex to happen. And that can become an ongoing thing in your relationship. You got an invocation for the certain kind of monster that you want to have in your bed. And if you don't like monsters, maybe it's an angel, or maybe it's a this or a that. But whatever it is, you can write that invocation and use it with your partner. Bringing in food. So you can offer your partner food during the sexy time. You can feed it to them. You can eat it off their body. You can have it eaten off your body. You can spend some time being the altar yourself, in which sacred objects and instruments are placed on you or potentially in you, depending on what you are into. And then you can reverse the roles, and your partner can become the altar, and you can place the sacred objects on them or in them, depending on what they are into and what y'all have consented to beforehand. Hey, Janet, glad you can make it in. How you doing? I'm continuing the conversation on some sex and ecstasy from Monday. So yes, food. Bring it in. Let your partner be the altar. You be the altar. You can also get some unused paintbrushes, and you can paint peanut butter and honey and jelly and all that stuff all over each other's bodies, and you can use that to like paint sigils or draw sigils. You can use the squirty syrups, like the Hershey's chocolate or the squirty peanut butter for the ice cream sundaes, and you can use that to draw sigils on yourselves and your partner's bodies. There's the edible paint and the edible glitter. You can do it, make it pretty. And if you wanted to incorporate this kind of boudoir aspect, you could do it in sexy underwear. You can do it in outfits or costumes or attire that resemble the divine energies that you are embodying while you are taking on this experiment or this experience. So, for example, what would Aries wear in an erotic event with Aries' partner? What would Hermes wear? What would Osiris wear? You can do this cosplay and bring that into your relationship or your bedroom or your experience. As Corellians, we are very much a family tradition. So we do not do the within our circle kinds of things unless partners come together and they are partners when they get to the church. We do not usually do the sex magics or the experimentations between members of the tradition, because we consider each other nephew, niece, auntie, uncle, brother, sister, so on, and we take that very seriously. So it'd be a little awkward to experiment within the tradition unless you were already married. So that's the one thing. But in other situations, maybe you are a part of a coven and that family mentality is not a part of what binds you. Then, yeah, between coven members, you can use these techniques individually, in small groups, in large groups, a wonderful experience with all 13 members of a coven, and y'all are all experimenting with sexual ecstasy to raise magic. One of y'all brings candles, one of y'all brings oils, one of y'all brings powders, one of y'all brings food, one of y'all, has outfits down pat, and it becomes a whole coven affair in perfect love and perfect trust and no shame. And that is one of the ways that we reject puritanical approaches to sexuality as pagans, and specifically as Corellians. Because like I said on Monday, that ecstasy, that pleasure principle, is a sacrament that our goddess gave to us so that we know that she's real. If I be vulgar for a second, orgasm is a gift from God to let us know that God loves us. That's a pretty cool God. And we don't carry that shame or that guilt about exploring and enjoying that gift from our God, so long as we do it respectfully and in honor of everyone who's participating. So I will leave that there, and I will try to find our first sponsor. I wonder. It's going to be Equinox, because that's how we do. Here we are. Is it paused? There we play it. I can't hear it. Y'all hear it? Maybe my volume's just off. Can you hear it? Oh, cool. Excellent. All right, cool. It's like frozen over there. Is it still playing for y'all? Okay, cool. Just give me a thumbs up when it stops. Try to figure out what to do. Alright. So I don't know, like it's freeze up. Alright, so that was our sponsor. Let's see if I can get this little. Or, you know what, let's see if I can find our next sponsor. Did it start again?
Ready to unlock the secrets of the universe? Join me, Reverend Don Lewis, for my metaphysical and magic auctions at Gaia Thrift at whatnot.com. Discover fascinating artifacts, mystical crystals, and rare and unusual books that could change your life. Don't miss this chance to bring a little magic into your world. Reverend Don's Metaphysical and Magic Auctions, where the extraordinary can become yours. Ready to unlock the secrets of the universe? Join me, Reverend Don Lewis, for my metaphysical and magic auctions at Gaia Thrift at whatnot.com. Discover fascinating artifacts, mystical crystals, and rare and unusual books that could change your life.
I think I just paused it. Did I pause it? I think I just paused it. This is tricky on an iPad.
I was no one.
So y'all still listen to Uncle. I heard it again. Also, thank you for confirming for me, Magical Mermaid, that you could hear.
Are you partying?
Hello, Black Crystal 615. How you doing? Thanks for popping in. Alright, boom. There we go. All right. It's me. Okay. And there's a 10-second delay. Am I still on screen?
You are, but I'm gonna hear this in about 10 seconds.
Amen. Alright, so I can't see myself or anything like that.
Nope, you're off
Oh,
now.
okay. I'm also. Can you still hear me?
Yep. The heck? I can see you again.
Alright, here we go. We're gonna keep it like this for now. I'm gonna figure out how to do these without changing the whole like the way this looks. But so that was Uncle and his sponsorship. We got about 6 minutes left in the show, and I do want to talk a little bit more about lustration. So as a recap, we moving towards Beltane, Baltana, however y'all like to say, because like Reverend Diana Sharvey would definitely have me if I said it wrong. But we moving towards that. It's the fertility time of year. Even culturally in North America and the United States, like a lot of times folks will avoid starting relationships in the summertime because like they want to be out and about with like skimpy clothes on and like shaking booty and all that jazz. And like we here for it. But magically speaking, you can do that with intention as a witch and incorporate that into that energy, that sexual energy, that fertility energy, that moisture energy, that morning wood kind of energy. You can incorporate that into your magic and into your life intentionally this time of year for some great results. So we'll just go ahead and let that be that on that. But back to lustration. It literally means a blessing by water. And in the ritual, we do channel the spirits of our ancestors, and we channel a blessing and an oracle, and then we use that water to bless the congregation, the book of life, and all of the living and deceased members of the tradition. And we do that ritually. The ritual is probably one of like the longest and most verbose of the rituals that we have. And we probably have so much more freedom with the lustration rituals than we actually utilize. There is a template for us to use, but even the template says that like we are free to alter it, change it, or mix it up in a way that promotes our own individuality or that promotes the unique perspective that we bring to the Corellian philosophy of magic. Thank you. So for this year, Lady Kai got them all printed out for us. The Lustration of the Ancestors, not to be confused with the Lustration of the Living, which is the regional version. But here we have it, Lustration Ritual. It's the script. And in it, there's so many roles, so many parts. And like, just so y'all know, you don't actually have to use every single part that's in the lustration ritual, depending on who's there, how many people are there. Some of these parts are there to make sure that as many people can participate as possible. So we got the Guardian, the Sonifer, the Aquifer, Lucifer, First Priest and Priestess, the June Evocator, Jen Evocator, the Quarter Guardians, Vocifer, Right Lector, Right Priestess, Right Priest, Elders Herald, First Elder, Offertory Clergyhood, and Califers. And then, so like if you have a smaller group, then maybe like the Chief Priest and Priestess of the Temple might also act as the Right Priest and Priestess of the Ritual. The Guardian might also act as the altar clergy and do the same part as the Aquifer and the Lucifer, which is basically like the altar dedication, so on and so forth. So the lustration ritual, the template that's online, you can alter it to fit the needs of the group that you are working with. And Lady Alyssa does also have a version called Lustration for One, so that individuals can do it by themselves as a solitary practice and continue to bring the blessing down into their lives and their families. The lustration ritual has 13 parts, technically 12, because the 13th part is just like everyone leaving the temple, but technically 13 parts. And each part has like a particular component to it. So for example, part 6 of the ritual is the actual blessing of the book of life. Part 5 is the reenactment of the great rite. Part 4 is the invocation of the 70 gods. Part 3 is the invocation of the higher selves of the first priesthood and all of the other presiding clergy who are here. So that's the ritual. I have come to recognize that the lustration ritual in its most verbose form is very much an oral history of very many polytheistic faiths. There is a mystery and a little secret initiation that is associated with the invocation of the 70 gods. And hopefully some folks will be able to talk to me about that. If you know, you know. But we are out of time for today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for celebrating lustration with me for this 30 minutes. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to wrap up the discussion that I had on Monday. Of course, your boy will be back next Friday, filling in again as I do. But until then, blessed be. Love you lots.